Welcome to this week's tech and productivity updates. This week, as you can see, we're kind of light on news, which is a bit surprising. Previous weeks, we had multiple laboratories dropping new AIs. We had productivity apps pushing out interesting updates. This week, there really was just one big piece of news that dropped, and that's Anthropic releasing Opus 4.8 plus some other updates. So Opus 4.8 is supposed to have better reliability and judgment according to the Anthropic news release. Plus, there's another big focus around speed. It keeps the same price as the previous version, 4.7, which was $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. However, it's supposed to have better performance in agentic abilities, multi-step work, and tool usage. They're also touting it as a more effective collaborator, and by that they mean it asks better clarifying questions, it catches and corrects its own mistakes more often, and it also pushes back when your plan and my plan isn't as good as we think it is. They also presented an update to fast mode, which now runs at 2.5 times the speed, but is cheaper than the previous fast mode. So fast mode for Opus 4.8 costs you $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens, so it's just double the price, which sounds like a lot because it is. You're paying double the price for double plus a little bit more in terms of speed. However, that's significantly cheaper than what Opus 4.7 was in fast mode. In fast mode, 4.7 costs you $30 per million input tokens and $150 per million output tokens. You were paying 6 times the price. So that was kind of insane. But now you can speed it up with only having to pay double the price if your work requires that. Anthropic also mentioned a couple of other updates like dynamic workflows, which is a Claude Code feature that lets Claude run hundreds of parallel subagents for more complex tasks. One of the examples they gave was migrating an entire code base, and so that's a very complex task. You have one agent orchestrating a bunch of subagents, all running in parallel. You can do a very complicated coding task in less time and hopefully more reliably, also burning a ridiculous amount of tokens in the process. So that's currently only available in Max, Team, and Enterprise plans. There was also an update for Claude AI and Cowork, and that is that users can now choose the level of effort. Previously, you could only choose the model, but not how much effort went into the thinking. Now you can. So if you're familiar with the way ChatGPT does it, same kind of a thing can be done now on claude.ai and Cowork, and this is available on all plans. One final mention that they did that was, I think, worth noting is they talked about bringing Mythos class models to all our customers in the coming weeks. What does Mythos class models actually mean, and how close is coming weeks? Remains to be seen. Looking at the benchmarks Anthropic released alongside 4.8, we can see that pretty much across the board, we've got improvements. So just a slight bump in intelligence across the board, not this massive change we were possibly expecting, maybe Opus 5 or something like that. Still pretty nice to see Anthropic pushing this and maintaining the price. Another area Anthropic highlighted was how much better aligned the model is overall. So here we have their own internal benchmark. I'm assuming we'll have to check out the Opus 4.8 system card to actually get all the details, but since they don't name it here, I'm assuming it's something they're running internally. But essentially what they're trying to show is how much more aligned the model is. And by that they mean that the model is much more likely to be upfront about when it doesn't know something, when it's unsure about something, when it's not deceiving the user. So here we've got the Mythos preview that they rolled out to enterprise customers that they were working with earlier last week. And here we have Opus 4.8, and we can see that the scores are very close compared to the previous version, 4.7, which is scoring much higher. And I'm assuming that the higher the score, the more misaligned the behavior is. Right here on the left side, we have Sonnet 4.6 for comparison. So even slightly more misaligned, much more likely to deceive the user, to be more overconfident about its knowledge, that sort of a thing. And that's pretty much it. This is the only thing really worth mentioning this week in tech and productivity news. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out next week's updates, where I'm sure we'll see OpenAI answer Opus's 4.8 with their own either improved model or maybe even a step up. So until then, I'll see you in the next one.